Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. After many teams have been formed over the last couple of weeks going into the new season of the VCT, we've got to see some of them in action up against some pretty reasonable competition. Cloud9, a controversial team when it was formed, are looking pretty good right now in this 10 international tournament, taking out Edward Gaming yesterday, going close against DRX at the moment. Are they actually any good though? Mini Jake, formerly of Fnatic, doesn't necessarily seem to agree. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. First of all, QCK, the new player we believe for Loud after Aspas is gone, and when you translate from Portuguese, Aspas always comes up as quotes or quotation marks, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so this is very interesting. Loud went through for some time what they would do instead. We thought they were going to go down a different route, but apparently they're going to kind of go one for one here, and they're going to bring this player in to replace Aspas. Will he be able to replace Aspas? Okay, physically he can. He's the fifth man on the team rather than not being there at all. But is he going to be able to do what Aspas did? Unlikely. So, I don't know. Loud are in an interesting spot where the last couple of years they've lost very good players, but they've still managed to kind of make it work. Maybe this will be a similar story, and I guess they believe that that QCK is their best bet going into the new season, although some would wonder whether he can really reach those levels. I think some people call this guy just quick, which is probably a better way to say it than I do, and if his flicks are quick, then he should be in business. And to be fair, I think he's a very talented duelist, but he's probably no Aspas at least yet. So that's something that Loud are relying on to be the case, and there's questions as to whether what they're cooking is actually going to be any good. Now, Rossi, just to quickly mention, he's looking for a team, former TSM and other rosters over the last couple of years, looking for opportunities going forward. There's also this from Governor, and I've got to say, we saw the other day from the Squirrel, right, Squirreliest, that Governor to RRQ was a rumour that was being considered. And then he says today, or yesterday, haven't formally announced this yet, but I haven't been and will no longer be playing with Turtle Troop. Love them and will be cheering them on. Been through so much with those guys and learned so much. So that's interesting. And then he goes on to say, we'll be in Korea this month for vacation. So, wow, what about that? Need people to play Apex Ranked with? Let me know. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this? Because we saw the rumors the other day that RRQ, one of the Asia Pacific teams, Governor, was a legitimate option. And now he's saying, well, you know, no longer a Turtle Troop out there in the Pacific pretty soon. That definitely smells like something could be happening. Now, there was an incredible match last night in the Game Changers almost finals in the North American side. We saw all the drama over the last few days here, and Evil Geniuses, Game Changers VALORANT, were the team that knocked out DSG, and now they've made a serious run. This was a massive game last night. Version 1 have already made the finals here, and they are in the finals, which is got to be coming up today. So, this was a match to determine which team would play those guys in the finals. The winner, if SR won here, and SR have been the real competitors with version 1. There's some friction between SR and version 1. They've always had a bit of beef between them. And SR expected them, I'm sure, to win this series, to get up against version 1 again. And I think that would have been good enough for SR to qualify through for the World Championship. 2 teams qualified during this cycle from the Americas, one of which is version 1. That's been confirmed. The other team that qualifies is the team with the next most points. And SR are currently that team, but that might depend on the result in the finals. And this was especially fascinating because SR made a change a couple of months ago. So they dropped Laurie from their roster and they brought in Panini instead. Laurie then went to EG and, well, obviously wanted her revenge, and it was a spectacular series. 15-13 game 1 ascent. SR then won the game 2. Haven was 13-6. And then Sunset was a 13-0. And this is crazy reminiscent in some ways of Evil Geniuses, their men's roster, because we know that EG's, men roster, they like a bit of a 13-0. There was some controversy about that the most recent season. And they're in kind of a crazy Cinderella position where they could actually make it through to the World Championship at EG, their Game Changers roster, kind of out of nowhere. And yeah, Laurie, 24-7 at last map, 485 ACS for a 2.1 rating to put SR down, the team that got rid of her not long ago. So, crazy revenge arc, incredible story. And that leaves SR out of the tournament. Now, that doesn't leave them out of the World Championship for Game Changers yet. That depends on the result today. And this is when we get this from Sonder. at all of the version 1 players, please, I beg of you, because the reality is that SR are currently in the position to qualify through, but if EG win this event and they take down version 1 qualify anyway. So they might not be as committed to playing this series as Evil Genius's Game Changers team might be, but SR really need version 1 to win. The funny thing is that those teams, because they've kind of been the top 2, have had a bit of beef, and now they're kind of relying on version 1 to get the job done for them. As Fluorescent says, I have the opportunity to do the funniest thing tomorrow by, you know, maybe not trying as hard as they might do, and therefore EG Game Changers qualify as opposed to SR. And actually, if you are version 1, there is an interesting question on this, just because if they think that come the Game Changers World Championship, they are likely to have more trouble from SR than they would be from Evil Geniuses, then maybe just let EG win, allow them to qualify, and then maybe that's one less team that you don't think you've got to worry about so much. I don't think they would do that, but, you know, it's definitely an observation that might be raised. And as Mel says, I need fan cams recorded, copy pastas made, pictures of everyone wearing V1 jerseys on my desk at midnight, or else I'm going to potentially not win this series. So, really looking forward to how that goes today. Version 1 should be the favourites to win this series, and if they do, then SR qualify. But if they don't, then Evil Geniuses make it through in what would be another Cinderella run from their organisation in the space of a couple of months, despite some chronic mismanagement behind the scenes. Now, other tournaments going on, such as Derek and the Derek Dogs that were playing yesterday, they played an interesting match against MXS, and they actually went down to lose this one. So, well, they were winning other series, but they lost this one. Was interesting that Stella was here, just because Stella was linked to NRG, and then you got to wonder, well, you know, Paincakes, Jonah, you know, Kanpeki, Derek, not really linked to tier 1 teams. Stella has been linked to NRG, so the idea that he was playing in this tournament with these guys, and not exactly a massively impressive performance, does make you wonder whether he's not necessarily involved with NRG anymore, or whether something else is going on. Because, you know, if he was scrimming with NRG and as their new IGL, would he be here playing with these guys? Maybe, but I'm not so convinced, personally. So anyway, MXS, they took him down. These guys are good. I mean, Marla had a really good series here. Haven was 13-11, and then it was 13-4 on the Lotus to call it a day. So yeah, Moist Shopify looking good, no doubt. And then we have to mention the 10 tournaments, which is currently going on out there in the Pacific. And this is a really interesting tournament because we've got DRX who are playing with not quite their normal roster. They've got an interesting addition, actually, we'll see in a second, that is looking promising, because DRX are keeping their roster the same going into this year, but it's like, well, you know, maybe you want to try somebody else out, someone else as a substitute or something, and they might have found their man. But Cloud9, they're in an interesting spot. They formed their team, and it was, well, controversially so. I think a lot of people didn't expect the team to be particularly special in the Americas, and I'm still inclined to believe that over time that probably will prove to be the case. But they've gone out here to the Pacific and they played Edward Gaming. We know how good Edward Gaming are. They just did really well at the World Championship, and the best team in the Chinese region. They're playing in this tournament as well. Now, there was some controversies here when they were 7-11 down, and I believe the PCs or the servers were freezing for the Edward Gaming guys, and that effectively costed them this round. And then they went on to lose, to lose this round and to lose the map as well. So if that hadn't have happened, you do wonder whether it could have been a different result. But still, impressive from Cloud9 to make this happen. They beat Edward 1-0 there on this sunset. As you can see, it was very much a momentum-based game. And that one round where they had the issues then led to Cloud9 winning a lot in a row and taking this map 13-11. So that was impressive. Whippy looked good. Oxy, I think Oxy's so good, man. I've said it for some time. I really like this player. He was on G2 before. And regardless of what I think about the rest of the roster being somewhat underwhelming, I was very much positive on the Oxy pickup, and I think that that's a very good decision. So hopefully it does work out for them, because Oxy is really good, and on the Rays he was having a lot of impact here for this roster as far as I'm concerned. So in the group stages, Cloud9 went 2-1. They went down 13-10 to T1 as we saw yesterday. They then beat DRX 13-11, and then they beat Edward 13-11. So some pretty good ice, to be fair, and they come up with the first seed going into the finals. Now there was also some questions from Jake as to whether like, why are they doing this? Why are they playing in this tournament? What are they doing out there in the Pacific when they could be staying at home practicing? But this is better practice than you're going to get playing scrims all day. Now, as Jake says, they have a 3-week boot camp after this in Seoul for the Red Bull tournament. So this is one of the things. Their team on paper might not be as spectacular as some of the others are, but they are at least preparing very well. They're out there in the Pacific. They're playing in this tournament. They've then got a 3-week boot camp in Seoul. I mean, you can't really ask for a much better start to the season in terms of preparation than a situation like this. So they could be getting off to a pretty hot start here this season, and that would make a lot of sense if they did. So in the bracket play then, DRX took down T1 13-9 to knock them out of the tournament. So yeah, but I'll just look at the rosters here. Flashback is the player that we are looking at because their roster's going to stay the same generally, but Flashback is an interesting Korean player that they've brought into their roster and looks to be pretty good. They also have Foxy9 here, who's going to be their official substitute, but you know, he wasn't looking that good today, to be fair, but Flashback was pretty promising. So yeah, it's good to see. I think the DRX are trying some other alternatives, and actually that was good enough to take down Edward Gaming. Flashback, very impressively so. Foxy did much better in this series than he had been playing so far. Mako, Stacks, Buzz, whatever. But Flashback on the Viper, plus 15 to take out the best Chinese team in Edward Gaming. So that makes things rather interesting for DRX now. They might have found a new talent on the horizon there, and we'll see what they decide to do with this play going forwards as they, well, progress into new tournaments. I would expect Zest and RB to return when they start playing scrims and stuff, but still, the fact that they've got Foxy and Flashback here looking pretty promising is exciting stuff. Now, Cloud9 are just about to play DRX. In fact, this has just got underway now, and it's 0-0 as of recording this video. But whoever wins the final, it's going to be a pretty impressive run for Cloud9. But as Mini Jake says from Fnatic, or just Mini, that 100 Thieves won that Red Bull tournament last year, and people expected them to be really good. Turned out they were as mid as it gets, really. 100 Thieves last season. So just because they're doing well at the start of the season doesn't mean much, and to be honest, we don't really know how good these other teams are as well. We know that, you know, we know what Edward Gaming should be doing, and we know what DRX should be doing. So Cloud9's results here, regardless, look pretty impressive. But Mini's like, well, you know, don't read too much into this. They might not actually be that good. It might just be early season stuff, and probably, you know, not having the highest expectations for this roster is still a wise decision, but nonetheless it's pretty interesting to see how these early developments of the season are going. So very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.